Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Heidi from My Reading Life, and I'm here today to film the mid-year freak out tag. So I have not done this for several years. I can't remember the last time I've done this tag, but everybody's doing it and it looked like fun, and I thought it would be a good way to check in about my reading and how that's been going this year. This tag was originally created by a booktuber who is no longer putting out videos from what I understand, but her name was Chami and the channel was Is That Chami, and I will link that channel down below in case that person comes back to making videos. But in the meantime, let's go through these questions. Question one is, what's the best book you've read in 2024? This was a difficult one, but I am choosing Eve by Kat Bohannon. I read this for the Booktube Prize. This is nonfiction science about evolution of the female body, how the female body drove 200 million years of human evolution. I thought this was fabulous. This is science written with humor, and Eve Bohannon knocks it out of the park. I'm sorry, Kat Bohannon, not Eve Bohannon. Kat Bohannon knocks it out of the park with this one. You can see me rave about it on my Booktube Prize review and ranking from the last round. Then question two is, what's the best sequel you've read this year? Now, I do read quite a few sequels. I like to read in several different series. There's some mystery, some urban fantasy, different types of series, romance series. So I read a lot of series, but the one that I'm picking is the most recent one I've read because it surprised me the most. And that was Silence Fallen by Patricia Briggs. This is in the Mercy Thompson urban fantasy series with shapeshifters and vampires and all sorts of supernatural creatures. I had left this one unread on my shelves for over 5 years, and that was a mistake because this was a great book, a great installment in the series. I very much enjoy it. Mercy Thompson is a fantastic, strong, intelligent, funny female character, and I really love this series. So this one is my favorite sequel of the year so far. New release that I haven't read yet, I'm picking James by Percival Everett. It's been everywhere on Booktube. I'm really excited to read it. I read The Trees by Percival Everett a couple of years ago and loved it, and I think that I will love James as well. I just need to get to it, and I do plan to read that in the second half of the year at some point. Question four, what is your most anticipated book for the second half of 2024? I am really looking forward to the new Louise Penny book that's coming out in the fall. It's called Grey Wolf, I think, or something Wolf. Inspector Gamache mystery series. Really love that series. I'm also really looking forward to the new Ta-Nehisi Coates book that's coming out on October 1st. This is nonfiction called The Message. And I have loved everything that I've read by Ta-Nehisi Coates. I didn't read his fiction. Everything that I've read by him has been his nonfiction, and I think he's a really excellent nonfiction writer. So I'm very much looking forward to that one. And then question five is, what was your biggest disappointment? I'm sorry to say it was this piece of fiction. This is The Vaster Wilds by Lauren Groff. This was a Book Naturalist book club pick. And I just did not get on with this book. I had a lot of problems with it. I had a lot of problems with the whole suspending disbelief as to what the main character was going through. It's historical fiction set in colonial times in North America. A young girl flees a European colonial settlement and takes off into the wilderness, and it's all about her basically on this fleeing from this time in the winter in uninhabited basically New England. No, not New England. I don't know exactly where she is on the eastern seaboard, but she flees in the wilderness. It's wintertime still, or right on the cusp of spring. And there was just so much that happened in here that I just found unbelievable, and I really had a hard time with it. So this was a disappointment to me. And then my biggest surprise is also a Book Naturalist book club pick, and that was The Mermaid of Black Conch, which I read by Monique Roffey, which I read last month for Caribathon and for Book Naturalist, and I love this book. I thought this was fabulous. This is also a novel, two novels that we read for Book Naturalist, and one was a hit and one was a miss. So this was the biggest surprise. I was really wary of this book before going in because it's literary fiction, it is magical realism, and those two things often are not good for me, but it works really well in this book. And the mermaid story told with heart and history and just awesome characters and really awesome descriptions of the natural world. I really love this book wholeheartedly. And then my new favorite author this year, this was a tough one, and but I'm going to pick the author that I've read 2 books from that I had not read previous to the year, and that was Maja Lunde. This is a Norwegian writer. These are translated fiction, translated by, oh, it's not on the front cover here, of course, translated by Diane Oatley. These are 2 books in her series of climate fiction novels, The History of Bees and The End of the Ocean. I read both of these this year, and I really got on with both of them. I think they're both excellent works of translated fiction in the genre of climate fiction. Maja Lunde has a lot to say about what we're doing to the earth and what impact that's going to be in future generations. And I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Let's see. Number 8. The question is newest fictional crush. Now, unlike lots of booktubers, I get crushes on fictional characters all the time. And this isn't a new fictional crush, but it's the one that's most recently been in my mind. And this is Aragorn, of course, from The Lord of the Rings. This is the movie tie-in cover with Victor Morgenstern in the cover. And I just love Aragorn. I have had a crush on Aragorn since I was 10 years old and I read Lord of the Rings for the first time. He is a fabulous character, and I think that Victor plays his part really well in the movies. Just how can you not love Aragorn? So yeah, not my newest fictional crush, but the one that I've most recently been obsessed with. So that's why I answered with that answer. Question 9, new favorite character. And that one I'm picking Sophie from To the Bright Edge of the World by A.N. Ivey. This is historical fiction that I read back towards the beginning of the year. And Sophie is the wife of an army officer who is sent up to Alaska to explore a river system. And she is left back behind in, I think, like Washington, Oregon area on the base by herself. She's a young woman, she's pregnant, and she is so intelligent and so smart and so much unwilling to like conform to the societal mores of the time period. She is bound and determined to do her own thing. She gets interested in photography, which is a burgeoning technology at the time. And so she's pursuing this art form of taking photographs of nature, particularly birds. She's really interested in photographing birds. And she's just a wonderful character. And the story is told through letters written back and forth between Sophie and her husband. So you really get to know her character. You also get to read like other historical documents interspersed with the narrative. And it's just a lovely book. It's really interesting. It's really good depiction of a time period, I think. I really love this one, and I really love Sophie. Now, question 10. Book that made you cry. Well, I mean, really, tons of books made me cry. I'm always crying at books. Like, I cry at commercials. I cry at books. I cry all the time. But one that really stood out in my mind was a book that I made a vlog for, and that was Landlines by Raynor Wind. This is a memoir. I read it for Springathon, and I thought this was just beautiful. This one really captured my heart, really captured my emotions. It's the story of a woman and it's a memoir of Raynor Wind's time hiking a section of wilderness between Scotland and Wales, and then into Cornwall with her husband, who has a terminal illness. And he is experiencing physical decline due to his illness, and they decide to try to capture some of the benefits of walking and being out in nature, and to see if that will improve his health. And I just thought this was so beautifully written, and captured their relationship really well, and captured the importance of moving your body and being out in nature and all of that. It also describes the landscapes really well and talks about what's being lost in terms of wildlands in that part of the world. Just a beautiful, beautiful memoir, and really, really enjoyed it. And then Book that made you happy. I mean, again, lots of them. I read a lot of things, across a lot of different genres. And I really, I like things like romance novels tend to make me happy. I tend to read a lot of ones that have a lot of humor. But something that made me happy particularly was I read one of the installments of the Murderbot series. It's science fiction featuring an augmented humanoid type person who was designed to be a security guard and has sort of left that life and has delved into like trying to find themselves as their own individual entity without having to be told what to do by people who own that entity, the Murderbot, because there's no gender involved here. I'm trying to avoid using gendered terms. And they're so funny. If you have the chance, if you have the interest, if you like adventure sci-fi with a lot of humor, try the audiobooks. They are fantastic. And I reread this year Network Effect, which is the one full-length novel in the series. The rest are all novellas. But overall, I would just say the series itself is very, very funny and really, really heartwarming and brings me a lot of joy and happiness. And then question 12 is your favorite book to movie adaptation. And I'm going back to the well here. Lord of the Rings. I have not watched any movies this year. I don't watch a lot of movies, but I love the Lord of the Rings movie adaptations. I think they're really excellently done. They really capture the feel and the atmosphere of the Lord of the Rings series. Of course, they can't show everything because the books are, all really huge, but they do capture the feel of the books quite well, and they capture the characters really, really well as, in addition. So that's my favorite book to movie adaptation. My favorite video that I've made this year is that vlog that I referenced earlier, where I did an individual book review type vlog during Springathon of Landlines. I read this book all in a weekend and did a vlog while I read it, and it was awesome. I got a lot of shots of the natural world around where I live, and it went really well with the topic and the book and the themes of the book, and I'm really happy with how that one turned out. And then question 14 is the most beautiful book that you've read this year. And that is one that I also just finished and did an individual review on. And that is Sing Like Fish, How Sound Rules Life Underwater by Amarina Kingdon. This is such a beautiful cover. I just love this. And you guys can't probably see it, but it's a textured cover. So all of these fish have, like, it's not the fish, it's like, I think it's depicting the sound. And so it's like bumpy texture in these like wave patterns over the cover. And then it has just these beautiful fish on the cover. I mean, it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous cover. I really love it. And the book was great too, as you can tell by all of the tabs that are in there. I learned a lot from this book. So this is the most beautiful book I've read so far this year. And then question 15, the final question, is what books do you need to read before the end of the year? And I know, like, I don't have to read anything, right? I'm not in school anymore. Nobody's assigning me books other than myself. But I do have obligations that I have taken on. So all of the Book Naturalist Book Club books, I still have to read. So all of the books from July through December for Book Naturalists, I will be reading. And then the Booktuber prize books. I have one book left to read. I'm in the process of reading for this particular round. And then there's one more round before the prize wraps up for 2024. So those books, whatever I get assigned in the final round, I will have to read. So those are the ones that I have to read because I've already obligated myself to read them. And I'm looking forward to it. I particularly do well with like working from a list or having books that I feel like I need to get to. Like for me, I am not like particularly a mood reader. I like to check off lists and work from a known group of books while I'm reading. So that actually works a lot better for me. So those are my answers to the questions of the mid-year freakout tag. I would encourage any of you who haven't already done the tag, which is not very many of you because I've seen this one pop up a lot in recent weeks. But if you haven't done it, you should do it. It's a fun tag and it gets to the heart of a lot of our reading habits. And I enjoy watching them and I enjoyed making this video. So I hope you're all doing well and finding some good books to read. I'll talk to you later.